Welcome back to Cade Sport, the virtual cycling platform that invites you, yes you, we see you there watching this video, invites you to stop pedaling and to start cycling. And you join me, Mark, a guy who recently tested positive as Canadian. So I'm going to be guiding you today through a Turbo Tuesday of rip-roaring races right here on the platform. And we're beginning with Apex Mountains. And that is a 15-lap course with some climbing, some bends that may catch our riders off, but this is the all-road, all-power course where it's not as technical. And we do not have any power-ups on this one. We'll touch on power-ups in a minute. But race 2 will see us take on a mountain bike course. This is going to be Barnyard Velo, and this is going to be a one-lapper for just over 2 kilometers, 2.4 kilometers, very technical, lots of obstacles for our riders to avoid. And last but not least, we end on a very much a road course, but a very technical one at that, invented by a fellow racer of mine on Cade Sport, Ben Chillian out of the UK. And that is going to be a 7-kilometer course, 3-lap total to make that 7-kilometer accumulative. So let's take a look at our power-ups today. So again, we have no power-ups on race 1, all road, all power. Race 2 is going to see 2 of one type of power-up, Quantum Shift. It has a 20-second usage time and it will allow our riders to pass through the solid mass of riders in front of them, but it has a 1-minute cooldown time, recharge time if you will. Race 3 sees 2 types of power-ups and they are 2 per. So there's going to be 2 corner capers, 20 seconds usage time, which will of course allow our racers to navigate corners without crashing, a 1-minute recharge time. Power Plan is going to tack on 100 watts of power onto whatever our riders are doing at the time, so they can really use this to their advantage in sprints, a 20-second usage time with, again, that 1-minute recharge time. So let's take a look at our caders as they charge up and get ready for today's races. And here we are on the start line. Got a lot of familiar names today, and hopefully we're going to see some really good power, some really good attacks, some really good peloton, hopefully. And we even have Peter back. Hopefully we get to see him on camera on his rollers. So Alfonso right off the gates there. A big charge of power, look at that, 1,000 watts. Just a reminder that we are on the Pro Power mode today, which is equalized, but even so. At a guess, this does change dependent on what each rider is doing, but I'm guessing that Alfonso is doing over 500, between 500 and 700 somewhere. And now easing down to just below his threshold. So as part of that equalized power mode, whatever the individual threshold is, the individual FTP, full threshold power, in other words, the resistance that you can hold at maximal for between 20 minutes and 1 hour, whatever that is per individual, that becomes 421 watts calculated by the algorithm. So everyone has their threshold at 421 watts. Riders who are going to want to win today are going to have to find it in them to dig deep and really go beyond that threshold of theirs for the big sprints, the big attacks, the big chases. And we can see Martin there, live from Denmark on his webcam. Look at that, good pedal strokes, good rhythm. We often see a lot of good power from Martin. Frank there on his tri-bike, pulling in at third, keeping good pace on that peloton. And Erhan right there in fourth, who absolutely thrashed me on the Cade Fondo on Thursday, and it was a phenomenal win. I'm so happy to have seen that, and I heard that his students were just going wild at the time. Erhan is a mathematics teacher, in Turkey, so that's fantastic to hear. And hello to Erhan students if you are watching this. Now Carl and Zeb, we know that they're going to show some pure power here today, and as I say it, Zeb is pulling to the front there. I've tried coming up with nicknames for people, and that nickname I came up with, Zeb, the other week didn't make any sense. So I'm going to call Zeb the Deutsches Dart, because he's as speedy as a dart, cutting through the air, and he's German. So Erhan, Verbeke, and Alfonso on camera there, looking great. I see that Alfonso has a green screen as well. I wonder if he does the green screen videos similar to Carl, which you can check out on the CadeSport users Facebook page. Homer pulling to the front, which is not a big surprise. He has got a powerhouse set of quads on him. I can imagine that he's just hearing the creak of the tension of the chain on his direct drive smart trainer at home, because he's putting that much power through the cranks. Martin pulling to the front. John Sears just right behind there. And Zeb and Homer shoulder to shoulder. Really good pace power, really good rhythm there, being held consistently by Martin. Fantastic stuff. But Homer's saying, no way, I'm going to take the bull by the horns, as it were, and take the lead of the pack here. So really good pack formed as well. So Carl and Frank are both taking it easy. I'm pretty sure we're going to see some phenomenal power from them both as we get going. I'm pretty sure Carl is just taking that draft benefit, and we're going to see him go great guns at some point deeper into the race here. Coming through this one-road town, which is very reminiscent of places like Jasper and Banff up in the Rockies in Alberta, and I'm sure towns in the Colorado side of the Rockies as well. Wonderfully designed by the team at Cyclogent, the company behind CadeSport. So Alfonso on the lead at the moment. Looks like John Sears is taking over for the Americans, giving Homer a bit of a break. Erhan keeping really well with the pack here. I think he learnt from Thursday's race. If you keep that draft benefit and keep it going, you can save up what you have ready for a nice big attack. So I'm hoping that we can see another contender, another podium placement from Erhan today. Alfonso making a breakaway, trying to soften this pack. And again, look at that. We're used to seeing these big, almost like dynamo battery powered surges from Alfonso. Hey Alfonso, great effort there. And again, I'm pretty sure, can't see fully from the webcam, but I think Alfonso is on tri-bars there. So he's been able to lean forward, put all of his glutes as well as all of his quads into those pedals, which is the difference that comes in from that slightly different position on a tri-bike. Is that it really adds in that glute power. Or more so than it would be on a road bike anyway. And Zeb, he's in the clink, seemingly, with his background there. I guess he's been naughty. And then we've got Carl on screen here. Good rhythm from Carl. And good, consistent rhythm, as always, from Martin. Fantastic stuff. I love seeing these different webcams. Love seeing the effort. Very fast feet on Zeb there. And so Verbeke is close to the front as well. We've seen a very interesting and welcomed change in the dynamic of these packs come in, where Verbeke has gone from being a surge rider and a climber into being able to be that sprinter and endurance rider as well. So fantastic stuff. And Martin now taking the lead, so we've got two Danes in the lead. And Denmark has sure had a hell of a year last year. The name eludes me, but the female athlete that won the female Tour de France, yeah, the female winner of the female Tour de France there was a Danish athlete. Love this helicopter shot. Fantastic camera work here from our tech guy, our vision mixer, Damon. Thank you, Damon. And beautiful artwork, beautiful scenery. And there we got Damon waving at us. Fantastic scenery again in this map, brought to us by the Cyclogent team that powers Cade Sport. So Martin's still holding very consistently at the front. Homer is giving us another surge. Let's see if he can make this last. I think what Homer's tactic might be is that he's doing surges to kind of bring the pack forward, then drop into the draft and see if that softens the effort of the team, of the group overall, sorry, as we get deeper into the race. I won't lie, that's a great tactic. It could also be that he's holding a lot of power and just needs to surge to massage the legs a little bit, then drop back a little bit. So Homer taking the lead. We're seeing some jostling here to perhaps try and deny some draft benefit. I'm loving this face-on shot looking down the road as we are on a slight elevation here. So we're most likely in high tension gears on an all-road or power course. And this slight elevation, even though it's only small, it's deceptive. When you're racing and you're holding endurance, it's actually going to increase what you're feeling in your legs. And it's just plateauing out now, so I'm assuming that's feeling nice for the riders now who are on the Direct Drive Smart Trainers. Martin again holding lead. Oh, we got two pelotons forming here. Interesting. Let's see what this does to the group dynamic if this shifts positions. I'm assuming this lane selection has come in and breaking up that peloton, which Homer is very much taking the lead on, trying to, I think, perhaps deny draft benefit as we're going into the second leg of this climb, is most likely done through the companion app. Now the companion app, if you do decide to join Cade Sport, you can scan the QR code in-game. It takes you to a very data light, mobile only version of the game that you can navigate from the browser on your smartphone. The benefit of which being that you can use it on any age of smartphone, iPhone, Android, and it works with the gyroscope in your phone. So if you attach it to your handlebars for a phone mount, you can steer and it will navigate in game likewise, and you have your brake button there. So riders they won't need it on this race per se, but they will be able to use it in the other two technical courses where the longer you hold the brake, it reacts as though dampening your brake down to a grip. So the longer you hold it, the more of a percentile you are braking by, ergo dampening your brakes in the real world. So Homer has successfully broken up that peloton. We now have a front two, Frank and Homer, both on their tri-bikes. So they're getting that aero benefit, making use of Homer's power there to also get into that speed, which has then opened up on that aero benefit of the tri-bikes. But we now have a chase pack behind. Let's see what they can do now that we're on a slight downhill. Unlike other virtual cycling platforms, you are not going to be able to pedal through your downhill. This reacts very much like it does in the real world. If you are on a Direct Drive Smart Trainer, is the caveat there. So if you have your trainer set to 100% in game, you're going to feel that your pedals are spun out like they would be in the real world, and it's going to feel a little bit precarious maybe to try and pedal like it would in the real world. So here we go, John Sears taking the lead of that chase pack. And Verbika here is now looking to surge past John, or perhaps hold with John. Seeing some good rhythm there from the free riders we just had on screen. And Homer's looking to break away again. He's not taking Frank with him. Now we're starting to see this pack reform. Erhan, look at that. Great little surge there. That's it. Hold that power up as long as you can. Try and get behind Homer and get that draft benefit. Here we go. Fantastic work, Erhan. In my mind, I'm hoping that the mathematics students of Erhan are just going wild watching this. Fantastic stuff. Here we go. So we're leveling out onto a flat here, and this is where Homer's effort is going to have to be sustained. He doesn't have that downhill advantage anymore. So let's see what this does as we get into the final 3.5 kilometers. So everything's reformed as a pack again. So again, this is where that flattening out from a downhill can even literally level the playing field. Zeb in third position, Erhan in third, so there's some jostling around for third place there. We've got a 2 almost 3 abreast peloton now, so almost becoming an echelon. Look at this. We're starting to see those changes come in. So John Sears, Martin, Erhan and Sebastian and Verbika now all coming up to the front. In fact, it's all grouping as one big blob rather than a peloton. Got the 2 Danes together, like a Viking raiding party, ready to storm the, I guess, eastern coast of England. So this is going to be anybody's game as we come into the final 2.5 kilometers. Another slight uphill, which again is going to put some additional pressure on those legs, put some additional strain in those quads and glutes as riders are trying to stick together, ready for those final sprints, those final attacks that undoubtedly they are going to put in. So Martin holding strong at the moment on the front, Verbika just over his shoulder. So let's see what they can achieve as we go into the final bit here. So the heart rates are interesting today. Everyone's of course been training as the regulars to these races, and their heart rates are beginning to show that training. So fantastic work, especially on Carl there. Really good heart rate, and that's the equalized heart rate too. And Martin's like me, when he puts in a lot of endurance, his heart rate will shoot right up, but he's coming down as well compared to previous races. So it shows you how quickly that can happen. And Zeb is some kind of superhero. Look at that, just staying completely stable at 175. So here we go, a bit of a downhill. So this is going to be when, for our riders on the DirectDrive Smart Trainers, if they have their trainer set to 100% in-game, they're going to dissipate that pedaling, which again, as we flattened out there and came into a little bit of a rise, means that people are going to have to really press on to the pedals to really get that chain tension back. And we saw a big surge there from Fabika and from Martin. Erhan as well, who's holding very well to the rear wheel of Martin. And Carl just came out of nowhere to take that lead position. I told you he was holding back. All right, so final 2 to 300 Ks. This is where riders are going to want to get out of those saddles, into the drops. Who's going to take it today? Oh, look at this effort coming from Erhan. Erhan and Frank Garcia. Phenomenal stuff. Holy. Wow, what a surge we saw there from everybody. Frank, Erhan, Carl, Martin. That was anybody's game, and what a fantastic game it ended up being. Alfonso, I'm sure, had a technical here, which is unfortunate to see, because I'm sure Alfonso, would have been part of that main attack group up at the front. So hopefully, whatever technical issues this is can be resolved going into race 2. So Frank there, what is that, 1,000th of a second ahead of Erhan. That was anybody's game between those two, and half a second ahead of Carl. So really fantastic stuff. Martin coming in fourth, who held very well at the front or towards the front of the pack for the entire race. Really solid endurance riding. Fantastic stuff there, Martin. Fantastic stuff from everybody. So let's take a look at the live points. Sorry, the point score. So Frank there, of course, taking the 60 points from that pole position, but just behind him, the shadow of Erhan looming at the feet of Frank Garcia with 52 points, and 46 for Carl Axel. Martin in fourth with 42, and John Sears rounded out that top 5 with 38. But this was the big one. This was the 3 times multiplier, but we have a 2 times multiplier at the end. So let's see what the technical courses can do. As we saw last week, it can change the game entirely. This is where we go to the mountain bike course, Barnyard Velo. So let's jump over and take a look at our cadres, who will hopefully be spinning out now to massage those legs, break up some of that lactic acid that's formed in their quads and their glutes and their calves, getting ready to put in more of a technical effort on this one. So there we go, we've got Zeb. This is where Zeb comes into his own. Of course, a very seasoned mountain bike rider with all kinds of real world wins under his belt. So let's see what Zeb can do here. Will he be the one to change the leaderboard? We've seen Homer coming quite powerful on these technical courses recently. So let's see what can be achieved there. Erhan got one hell of a cardio effort going, so just wiping away that sweat from his brow there. But a very well-deserved podium placement at second place. Fantastic stuff. I have personally been waiting for this, for the wins of Erhan. So great stuff, sir. And Kay joins us for race 2 as well. Husband of Homer, and also a very phenomenal rider. And we are off Pedro has come in as well. Or a number of crashes right off the starting gate, if you will. Erhan pushing forward, which is great to see. Got Pedro in the top three there. Carl Axel just deployed his one power-up. We've only got one on this course. Two of the one type, I should clarify. And Vanessa joins as well. Holding very well on those corners, as is Kay. Let's take a look at the lead of the pack if we can. And of course it's Sebastian. Is there any surprise here? Phenomenal riding as always. On these mountain bike courses where it's more grit and off-road terrain, if Zeb is on a Direct Drive Smart Trainer, he's going to feel that a lot more through his legs. And this is where the power of a mountain bike rider really comes into play, as well as, of course, the technical handling skills. And that focus on Zeb's face, he's determined for this one. And Pedro here coming in second. Loving that change of kit, that new kit that he's got on for his mountain bike kit. There are different kits you can choose for the different disciplines here in game in Cade Sport, and different paint jobs for your bikes as well, and a whole level of customability that really you have to download the game and try to get the full benefit of. So visit cadesport.com and get on that. What are you waiting for? So here we are. It's a quantum shift power up in this race where riders can move through one another, which Carl is using there to great benefit to come into the third place position, even pushing up to second. Will Carl be the challenger to Zeb? Only time will tell. There we see Carl going full tilt. Looks like he's pushing right through that resistance in his crank arms. Very strong pedal strokes. So I'm assuming that he's going to give us a really good chase. Oh, a nasty crash there, just as I was saying that. The commentator's curse, I'm sure. My apologies, Carl. Carl. There we go. We saw Zeb begin to go into more of a freewheel, a coasting, if you will, coming into the corner, pedaling out. That's a real talent of taking a corner. Fantastic win there by Carl. Sorry, my apologies. Fantastic win there by Sebastian. All right, so we've got all of our cadres here coming towards that finish line. And let's take a look at our live results. So we have Zeb in first place, 9 seconds behind Zeb for second place, which shows you what those crashes do. We are on the easy mode difficulty today, so just over 1 second, 1 and a bit seconds crash penalty, but that can still really throw you off. So Pedro second place, 9 seconds behind. Homer 11 seconds behind, 2 seconds behind Pedro for third place. Carl 14 seconds behind. That very nasty crash there cost him quite dearly. And Martin in fifth place. So let's take a look at our live point tally. So Frank Garcia still in first place. And we have changed that leaderboard just a little bit. So Erhan and Carl in a joint 67 points for second and third respectively. Zeb has shot up to fourth place. So this is where that third race could really clinch it for Zeb. So he's at 64 points. Martin still rounded out the top 5 with 61 points. So this is still anybody's game at this point in time. So let's take a look as our riders get ready for Summit Islands as designed by CadeSports' very own race contender Ben Chillian from the UK, a team member of Team Hive. So this has got lots of climbing in it. So this is where really powerful climbing riders such as Vibeke are going to come into their own. And we're seeing Vibeke just pedal it out a bit here just to relieve some of that lactic acid and kind of calm the heart rate a little bit, ready for those big powered climbs. Homer is another one, as is Kay, of our powerful climbing riders. So let's see what they can achieve here. This course is fantastic. It combines power with some very technical and quite hairy downhill sections where your big bends and big tight technical corners, as just demonstrated by Erhan here, come into play right at the base of your downhill runs, which makes it even more difficult for arcaders to navigate. At least it means that they have to pay more attention. So let's see what those technical aspects will do here, or if it's going to be an all-power win today. So Zeb is in it to win it today, shooting off with that big powered start. And Alfonso using his uncrushable, my apologies, his corner caper, which has the same effect as uncrushable, except it won't stop you from crashing into objects, but it will stop you crashing on corners. Oh, perhaps a case of just slightly mistiming the duration of the corner caper there by Alfonso, which has allowed Carl and Zeb to take back those first and second place positions. And here we get those aggressive climbs coming in. Not the strongest climb yet. That comes towards the end of each lap, but certainly one of the more aggressive ones. And Vanessa surging up to third place on the tri-bike. We've certainly seen Vanessa get more powerful on these races as we've gone through as well. So this is one of those downhills where we get the technical kind of slalom come in, if you will. And fantastic quarter in there by going into coasting, or as I like to call it, as it's often known in North America, freewheeling from Vanessa Moynihan. And here we got Carl using the corner caper to fantastic effect, allowing him to really power through those corners, as is Zeb. He's seen it being used and knows that he has got to clinch this first place position to really take that leaderboard. And that's allowed him to really power through that slight waterlogged area, which will of course add in a whole ton of resistance to riders on those Direct Drive Smart Trainers with their trainers set to 100%. They'll really have to pedal through that water bit, or at least pedal up to it to push through to continue that momentum through the chain tension. Renee Valadez joining us as well, coming into fourth. I haven't commented much on races with Renee. That seems to be a very powerful climber just off the go here, and a very unfortunate crash by Pedro there. Pedro, who has consistently been moving up the points table and the finishing table, clearly doing some training as well as the consistency of these races, which has been bringing up his effort as well. Holding consistent as always. And Vanessa, my apologies, Vibeke here playing a catch up to the team. Let's see if she can catch up to her fellow Dane, Martin, and get some of that draft benefit. Sharon Hackathorn from the Cade Sport team catching up to Frank here. Now, can Frank give Shaq some of the draft benefit and then pull them both along? Let's see what happens. So Alfonso using both power-ups, getting some of that power down with the powerhouse, which adds on 100 watts onto his current power, and the corner caper to be able to navigate these somewhat technical corners, which might be a little bit easier to navigate without the power-up because you are going uphill. This is the quite nasty climb that I was talking about that comes up. So this is the one that separates our climbers from our sprinters and our endurance riders from our surgers. John C is catching up nicely as well, using some of that draft benefit coming from K. The draft benefit will be somewhat less effective going uphill, but will still be there and still provide some ease. There we go. Carl has just powered his way through that climb. And this is where he can relax those quads a little bit, coming downhill. But he's going to want to pay some serious attention to this slalom coming up. So these are not the worst in Cade Sport, but there's some nasty corners on a quite aggressive downhill. Nasty crash there. Oh, both Carl and Zeb caught off by that. This is where maybe looking at that tunnel vision of the rider in front of you and wanting to catch with a nice big surge might not pay off so well. But certainly holding your position and knowing when to attack, which is easier said than done, a lot easier said than done, is going to pay off. I think Zeb has maybe raced this course slightly less than Carl, so Carl having maybe the advantage of knowing when to attack, geographically if you will. And Vanessa just played a wonderful use of both power-ups to really surge ahead. Then coming into the uphill here, where you still have to navigate these corners, but again, because you have that increased chain tension, it's going to be easier to do. That can be a false positive coming into a downhill with a little bit of a corner here, a wider corner. This is an absolutely wonderful course designed by Ben, and we can see our power-up cards here. So when you do decide to join Cade Sport and give it a try, which I recommend you do, it's a wonderful game. You have the name on the top of your card, configuration, so is it 1, 2 or 3 power-ups appearing in-game, the icon, which is for ease of identification, the quantity you have, cooldown and usage time, and then description at the base of the card, which makes it nice and easy to understand what each power-up does. So Homer here, beginning to really surge ahead on this climb. Again, one of our really powerful climbers in game here. Lives in the state of Indiana, home of Major Taylor, and the birthplace of certainly one of my favorite fiction movies, Breaking Away. And I saw a video recently on Strava from Homer where he's going up just powering through this uphill, quite a steep gradient of a cycle path in his home state of Indiana. And there we can see that Homer, of course, from the United States, the state of Indiana, and he's here for health, recreation, and charity riding, which he does a lot of with the Cool, Calm, and Collected team. Speaking of which, Peter must have had a technical there, because we did see Peter's name come up, and he was in that first race there at the beginning, and then suddenly not there. So there unfortunately must have been a technical, but I love getting to showcase him when I'm commentating, because he's just a masterclass at using rollers indoors in the virtual cycling space. And Vanessa here just flying. having learnt from that nasty crash on that downhill before, with Carl and Zeb taking it nice and easy, coasting through, or freewheeling if you will. An absolute masterclass of handling this on a downhill. And then as you can see, those power numbers climb back up. That's where, of course, stepping back on the cranks and holding a fairly comfortable 8-second lead right now. However, Carl is deploying those power-ups, and he's really putting the hammer down with the advantage that the corner caper gives, where he can just give that power and not have to focus on the steering. And Zeb has answered that with his own big powered charge, and look at that, phenomenal speed, powering through a downhill. So he must have gone right into his highest gear to be able to pedal through. And we can just see him shifting down there as he released off of the pedals and back on again for this climb. Now we're going to see that mountain bike rider power come in for this climb, I'm sure, as he puts in his climbing surge to try and catch Vanessa. Look at that, right out of the saddle. Absolute textbook example of how to climb. Out of the saddle and no doubt on the hoods, and just really pushing through that climb. But now we're seeing the use on this climb of the powerhouse, adding on that 100 watts for Vanessa, which is maybe, still not too bad, a 15-second lead right now, so right on the final climb here. But Zeb is not far behind, he's really closing down that gap. Final 50 meters, 25 meters, and over. That was a textbook win by Vanessa there. Fantastic effort, and Zeb just powering through this climb. Fantastic effort, Zeb. I'm sure this has ultimately changed that point tally that we will see at the end here. And Carl comfortably coming up the rear for third place, rounding out the last of our podium spots. Homer fourth, and at the moment, Rene fifth. But let's see what happens here. These climbs will really separate our riders and put gaps and time differences between them. So it could be that even fourth and fifth can change right now. And comfortably over that finish line for third place by Carl Axel there. Fantastic work. Oh, Rene crashed just at the wrong moment, but still managed to get fourth place, it looks like. Fifth for Homer. Pedro, who was unfortunately suffered a good at least 2 or 3 crashes there, which had maybe set him back a bit as we got into those climbs, but still comfortably coming over for 6th. For Bika 7th, shortly followed by Martin. Using the powerhouse to get up this final climb. Fantastic effort there, as it has been by all riders in the race today. So as our last couple of riders roll over that finish line, let's take a look at the live results. So Vanessa there holding a comfortable 8 seconds over Zeb. So he managed to cut down almost 7 seconds there from that lead that Vanessa had built up, but almost an entire minute ahead of Carl in third place, who from those series of unfortunate crashes was pushed back to third, but fantastic surges of power, really incredible climbs there. And then Rene and Homer rounding out the top 5. So let's see, as our riders all tally up here, what that has done to the points tally. And that did change everything. Zeb has stolen that first place position. Fantastic effort from Zeb on race 2 and 3. We really saw the power that he has in him from his mountain bike experience really come to bear there. Carl moving up to third, pushing Frank down to third, but Frank is still comfortably in third, Homer fourth, and Martin making up the final of the top 5 there with 107 points, 0.5. So really fantastic stuff there. And Vanessa, who was not in those that first race, really pushing up to 7th, which is fantastic. So wonderful races from everyone today. Fantastic stuff. Edge of my seat for sure. And hopefully you were too. So thank you for joining us. Please do go and try out CadeSport at cadesport.com. The schedule for the next races will be listed on the CadeSport Facebook page, and you can watch those live on the CadeSport Facebook page, CadeSport YouTube, and on the ESTV. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.